Hello and welcome to Tabcast, the podcast that uncovers stories and strategies shaping the future of agriculture, sustainability, and global food systems. I'm your host, Tanya, and today joining me is a very special guest, Lorenzo Tacchella, who's head of private sector partnerships for the GCC region at the United Nations World Food Programme. Lorenzo, it's a real pleasure to have you here for me. Thank you for joining me, and how are you feeling?
Hi, Tanya. Thank you for inviting me. I'm good, thanks. And it's a very pleasure to be here and joining your podcast today.
Absolutely. And actually, it is a pleasure for me to have such a prestigious organization and you as the representative of that organization to come have this discussion with me. So I wouldn't take much of our time into the introduction. Let's quickly get into our discussion. Lorenzo, I really want to start with that food systems are currently at the heart of what we're discussing today. And we often talk about agriculture in terms of production, technology, but systems, in my opinion, go much deeper than that. They include policies, behaviors, access, and resilience. So, but today, when we see that these systems are quite broken for a lot of our population, and we are actually nearly talking about a billion of people who are food insecure and those who are chronically hungry. And the irony is that we produce enough food, but access and affordability are failing. So, as part of this organization that you're representing, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Tanya. This is a paradox that is at the heart of what WFP is doing and why WFP exists. We produce more than enough food globally to feed everyone, and yet, as you said, there are over 309 million people that are facing acute level of food insecurity globally
Mm.
in around 72 countries. And 45, there are as well 45 million children that are under 5 that are suffering from wasting. And what is the reason for that is because food system, which is the network, the markets, infrastructure, the policy that determine of food is grown and processed and transported and consumed as well, are failing in many cases. And this is why they're failing, because the system are disrupted by conflict, climate shocks, and but as well economic inequality and in some case poor governance. So WFP is working in places where these failures are the most severe. So we are at the forefront of any emergency you might see in the news. So if you can think about Gaza, Sudan, Syria, or Lebanon, but we are as well in many other countries around the world that are more silent crises that you might not hear about every day, where even when food is available, is often unaffordable or inaccessible. And at a global level, the food and agricultural sector as well accounts for a big part of the greenhouse gas emission, around 25%, I think, and as well of a huge amount of global freshwater use. So not only those food systems are failing for the people that are food insecure, but as well harming the planet, which is again as well harming the people, of course. No, I just want to say that for WFP, a sustainable food system delivers food security and nutrition for all in a way that the economic and social environmental basis generate food security and nutrition for the people now, but as well for future generation. So the solution isn't just growing more food, but is rethinking the entire system from the soil health, market access, local procurement for sustainable consumption. And we can only do that if we work together with government, business, civil society, the humanitarian actors, each bringing to the table something.
Right. I think you very rightfully said that. And the idea that you just portrayed that WFP isn't just delivering food anymore, your strategy is now also deeply rooted in food systems thinking. And I think it was really important what you just painted for those who are less familiar with this concept that, how WFP defines and operates within food systems and why this shift that you've made is so critical for today's time. So thank you for that answer. And Lorenzo, moving on. So if I were to consider crisis settings, as you just mentioned, that there are sometimes incidents that people are not even aware of. So you operate in some of those most challenging regions. Even you mentioned Sudan, Lebanon, Syria, where food systems are often broken due to conflict, disaster, or climate shocks. But yet, WFP is still finding ways to create sustainable impact, right? So, could you give us a glimpse into how WFP is rebuilding that food system in these fragile settings? And also, I would love your answer on what are the on the ground realities and how do these partnerships factor in?
Sure, no, thank you for this question as well. And yeah, of course, we are in crisis setting like the one I mentioned before. Uh, these countries are facing overlapping crises. No? There is economical collapse, there is conflict, there is climate stress, there is displacement. In Sudan, for example, there are now over 20 months of war that led to one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world, and
Mhm.
as well the only famine confirmation worldwide since 2017. So it is really an unprecedented crisis, and we are navigating there as well, a massive access constraint, but yet we are still supporting local producers. So of course we are prioritizing emergency response, but we are taking consideration as well that this war hopefully should end soon, and then we still need to support the local producer and market when possible. So we are helping improving in Sudan the food system by providing, for example, training in vocational skills so that people are able to improve their livelihoods, opportunity, increase their income, and also support farmers in accessing the market when and where is possible, and as well improving irrigation system to boost the agricultural productivity. So activities that maybe you don't expect from WFP as an emergency response agency, but we are still doing it because we know how it's important to preserve the food system there for the future. In other places like Gaza, the situation is different. So the food system there are completely collapsed because
Mhm.
the blockade, especially that there are since several weeks, so nothing is entering in there. So even WFP warehouses there are nearly empty. There is so what we need there is immediate sustained humanitarian access, so that we can access to the people in need. And when the situation will be stabilized, we can go back to do as well something to support the long-term food security in Gaza as we were doing it before the conflict.
Mhm.
Um, uh, However, despite the crisis, we in the West Bank, for example, we implemented a different climate resilient agriculture intervention that were really tailored for the location where we were and the household that we were serving, which are focusing on asset creation and rehabilitation. So, for example, establishment of greenhouses, home gardens, hydroponics, beekeeping, or animal sheds. So those kind of activities that even in those contexts you can still do it. In other contexts like Lebanon, instead we are supporting with digital cash transfer and school feeding. So and as well we are helping restore livelihoods for all the conflict affected farmers that were affected by the recent conflict.
Mhm.
And in Syria, it's one of the most interested cases, I would say, because there we are really scaling up now the early recovering efforts. We are rehabilitating especially bakeries, which is an important part of the food system in Syria. We rehabilitated over 24 bakeries, and we are restoring as well water access for farmers, and we are as well working on reintroducing fortified flour production. So all those elements that now we have access to large part of the country, we can do it, and there is really the opportunity to do it now because it will really support the whole ecosystem there for the years to come. And we are really calling up for the private sector to support us in this work because it will be really important. So all these interventions are possible because of the partnership that we have on the ground. So local authorities, other UN agency, civil society, and the private sector, I would like to really emphasize. So
Absolutely.
they can support in food sourcing, logistic, the digital payments. They can bring innovation, as well connection, resource that we need to operate these programs.
Mm.
So.
Right. Thank you. I think that is a very inspirational concept that you just shared, and especially like you mentioned that, in crisis settings, it takes the country really few years or times back, when they have to deal with the whole food system regeneration altogether, and then a body like WFP entering into that region, taking support from civil societies, local organizations, private investments, of course. I think it is. And it is very inspirational work that the organization does. And we know that this work from your organization is globally recognized as well, and you are making real time impact. We have a lot of success stories as well. So thank you for sharing that. Now you also slightly mentioned about bringing hydroponics, right? This next part of my question is very exciting for the audience that we have at the sixth Global Vertical Farming Show, as we just discussed. So WFP's H2Grow initiative is bringing hydroponics to refugee camps, deserts, and urban areas where traditional agriculture isn't very viable. And I've seen examples, let's say from Algeria, Jordan, or Iraq, where families are growing fresh greens with minimal water, zero soil. So, what do you think inspired H2Grow, and how is WFP scaling it? Do you see there's some sort of an alignment with private agritech players or vertical farming startups?
Thank you, Danny. I'm very glad that you mentioned H2Grow initiative. So it's an example how we are trying to find solution so that we are no longer need to have emergency intervention in the places where we are operating, but that communities are self-resilient and can really be resilient to shock in the coming year. And it's one of the projects that comes from our innovation accelerator. We have an innovation accelerator based in Munich, where we try to find innovative solution for anger. And it's an example as well of innovation really in action. So it was born out of necessity in places where water is scarce and land isn't farmable. With hydroponics, we can grow nutrition food using 90% less water and no soil. You don't need any soil, and really minimal space.
Mm,
So this means that even in a refugee camp, in families that are living in urban slum, they can grow their own food that can be for their own consumption or for animal feeding. So we have deployed H2Grow in over 10 countries, and we are scaling through partnership with private agritech companies as well, and vertical farming startups, which are, of course, natural allies in this kind of project,
mm,
as they can bring technology, business models, and on our side, WFP can bring the scale, the access, and the mission alignment with these companies. So we are always looking for partners who can develop, adapt, and scale this kind of innovation. And an example that comes to my mind about the H2Grow is in Nigeria, where in
right.
some communities, so even fourfold increase in number of, for example, animals that they could have in their household, thanks to the fact that their production cost for animal fat was reduced by over 50%, while the production was much more easier because of the hydroponics. So this was a great news for their food security, but as well for business as well in those regions. It means that all the communities are more flourishing, then they will make more investment in the community. So even for business is a sound business investment, let's say.
Right. I think Africa is a very good example of that. And to bring technology and newer ways of making their own food, producing their own food and supplements, I think it's very crucial for that region, because they are the ones that also face a large sized of food insecurity levels. And I think it's interesting to take that case study in. So, Lorenzo, I understand that technology and advancements is making a change, but mobilizing resources is also a constant challenge in humanitarian work. We all know that. Yet WFP has been remarkably successful, while you've also mentioned a number of case studies in attracting both public and private sector funding. So, what is driving that success? What is that mantra that WFP is following, especially in the private sector space? And how are you, let's say, framing the value proposition to companies beyond traditional conditions?
Sure. Thank you for the question, Tanya. Uh, Private sector is critical to our work, especially now that public funding becomes more stretched. There are many countries around the world that are cutting their spending in humanitarian interventions around the world. But and so private sector become much more important, as it was even before, but now even more. So what's driving our success with private sector isn't just asking for a donation. We just don't go there and ask for a check. we really try to align with companies' value, capabilities, and their ASG goals as well. So we offer partnership models that can create impact and shared value for the company. For example, we try to leverage on the expertise of different industry. We really work with any possible industry, not only the agricultural industry, but for example, even the logistical industry. UPS, for example, they are donating air cargo space so we can ship food during emergency. Or here in the region, here in Dubai, we have a partner which is Choitrams, which support us since with school feeding since over 10 years. And they are doing that both in countries like in Africa, in Benin, and as well here in the Middle East with, for example, fundraising campaign that they do in their retail stores during the year. So, and all these companies, they do it because they, of course, take care of the community where they operate, but as well, they understand that supporting through this initiative is as well, there is a return of investment for the market where they are operating, as well a return in the branding and the value that they can get. We have as well many tech firms, for example, that help us innovate the digital tools that we're using for food assistance. Or we have many companies collaborating us through our app Share the Meal, that it's our official fundraising app that companies use as well. They can use as well to engage their customer, the employees, to do direct giving, to do challenge, so to be more engaged. And we also offer a lot of brand visibility, co-innovation opportunities. We have different fora during the year, international fora, where we can invite those partners to talk about food insecurity issue, to showcase what they are doing, what we are doing together, the impact that we are having. So this is as well important for their brand. So companies see that partnering with WFP enhance their reputations, help meet the ESG goals, as our operation is not only focusing on zero hunger, but on many different aspects of that could be important for the ESG goal of companies, and as well strengthening their role in building basically a better world. So it's not really just charity; it's a partnership that really builds impact.
Right, very rightfully said, I think, Lorenzo. And what better than actually, taking hand in hand both the company's personal fulfillment of ESG and CSR goals, as well as also being able to provide being a valuable asset to the humanitarian work that WFP is aiming for. So I think that's a very interesting and a very unique part of such organizations like WFP, who know in today's world, who knows how to balance both private and public equities. So thank you so much for sharing that answer. Now, I want to expand that idea of partnership, Lorenzo. You have worked closely with partners on the ground to promote climate smart solutions. I saw the example from the Sahel, where WFP is supporting communities to restore degraded land. Can you expand a bit on that case for me?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are doing land rehabilitation work. We have one of the agency that do more land rehabilitation works around the world. One of the region where we focus this more is, of course, where land degradation is one of the main cause of food insecurity, which is the Sahel. It's this stripe of land that goes from the Atlantic Ocean until the Red Sea in under the Sahara Desert, and is one of the most climate affected region in the world, but is as well one of the most resilient. So in places like Niger, where I worked there for over 2 years, we are helping community restoring hundreds of thousands of hectares of degraded land. In the last few years, we restored over 350,000 hectares of land that were desert, and now it's cultivable land where we can either grow fodder for animals or can do agriculture. And we do that with basically a combination of food assistance and community-based environmental action. So we give to the community in need. We teach them how to rehabilitate the land, and we actually use a whole ancient technique that comes from them, which is the half moons. You can see many videos if you search online, and it's a very simple, cost-effective technique that and we do that through the communities by paying them using basically giving them food or cash, depending on the situation. If there is a functioning market, we give cash, otherwise we provide them with food.
Hmm.
And so while they are getting paid from us, they do this rehabilitation work. And after 2 or 3 years, they basically become self-resilient. So in some case, 5 years, depending on the situation, they can start to grow their own production. And the land became from desertic to basically a green field. It's crazy if you see really the difference, that is look like another planet. And then we can move to the next community and continue this work. So that community will not need probably us anymore to come back the next time there is a drought, the next time there is some other climate distress for doing emergency support. But because now they are resilient to shocks, our work is not needed anymore, which is exactly what we want. We want to basically go out of business and
Right.
exiting from the country. To give you an example again from Niger, there was this community where every year we have to spend around $200,000 every year just to provide emergency food assistance to this
Hmm.
community, because this community was hit every year by droughts, by other climate issues, and they couldn't basically sustain themselves, and they had a lot of pressure from refugees coming from other countries due to conflict. But then we did one investment of around $70,000. So they rehabilitated the land. We constructed some solar pump that can pump water from the subsoil. So even when it's not raining, they can get access to water. And now they are basically self-sufficient. We don't need to go there back every year with that $200,000 cost of emergency response. And they are teaching even other villages around them how they did it. And so this is a great example of how climate smart solution really help us achieve restoring the ecosystem and achieve food security.
Wow, I think I'm already, the little examples that we've discussed right now of the humanitarian work that you're doing. And I am sure that there are many more examples in different verticals as well. We are just right now trying to understand about food security and agriculture and all of these sectors. But it's very interesting and inspiring for me to even have this discussion. So thank you for sharing that, Lorenzo. It's very beautiful to know that story. Finally, as we gear up for the Global Vertical Farming Show, many of our listeners, startups, investors, ESG heads that are involved with this business are exploring partnerships that align business values with impact, which we previously also discussed. So, what would be your message to them? How can they engage with WFP in a way, that truly contributes to food systems transformation while achieving their own sustainability?
Yeah, my message is simple. So the future of food can be built basically anywhere, even in a refugee camp. So
Mm.
if you are a startup, an investor, or a sustainability leader, WFP can be really be your launchpad to a real world impact. We have the global footprint, we have the trusted relations, we have logistical reach, we have basically to pilot and scale solution where they are most needed. Vertical farming or hydroponics or climate resilience solution. Those are just innovation so they are not just basically innovation for profit. So they are tools as well that we can use
Right.
to hunger, empower communities where as well your business is probably operating and protect the planet, where again your customer and your business is active. So if you really want to give an impact on your ESG, you want to make food system more inclusive and sustainable, you can come and partner with WFP.
Absolutely. I think the audience will hear that, right? And I'm looking forward to have WFP as well on our event, wherein you can engage in some really important partnerships or collaborations with companies or startups, tech providers who are coming at the platform to discuss how I'm sure they will be interested in understanding how they can actually make real-time impact alongside business profits. So, thank you, Lorenzo, for sharing these powerful insights with me and real world case studies. They were the most impactful for me. And in my opinion, it's clear that WFP is not only feeding people in emergencies, but you're also building long term resilience. with support of private sector partners and cutting edge innovation. So we hope today's discussion sparks new collaborations for you as well and inspiration for those who are listening to us. Any last comment that you'd like to share?
I would like to thank you, Tanya, for the opportunity for inviting us to this podcast and to the event. And we're really looking forward to join and meet as much as a partner as possible that might be interested in helping us achieving our world with zero hunger. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. And just a small message to all of our listeners. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time.